up, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Get Sharp. I'm your host, Joe Fortenbaugh. We're back at the Green Valley Resort and Spa here in Henderson, Nevada, and I'm joined again today by our man and good friend, Marco D'Angelo.
Hey.
Marco, how you doing?
Good. Glad to be here.
Marco's from pregame.com, and he's going to help us today with two games on the college football schedule that a lot of you will be turning into, and we're going to start 8 p.m. ESPN, the big game of the weekend. Number 6 Wisconsin, 6-0, with Heisman hopeful Russell Wilson at quarterback. First road trip of the year. They travel to Michigan State, number 16 in the country, 5-1. Wisconsin opens this week 6.5-point favorite. It moved up. It got to about 8 at one point. It's now settled at around 7.5. First road game of the year for the Badgers. This is going to be a big test, especially in prime time. What was your first thought when you saw that line come out?
Well, first off, it's their first true road game. They did play a game in Chicago against Northern Illinois, but this is a team that everybody wants to speculate. Are they as good as we think they are? I tend to think they are. This Wisconsin team, they've always had a great running game. But this year, with Russell Wilson, they've got the passing game to go along with it. And when you've got to respect the passing game, you can't put 8 guys in a box to try to stop them. I think they're the real deal. A lot of sharps, I will admit, here in town are looking at the Michigan State side as the home dog because they're looking at fundamentals. Wisconsin, first true road game. Are they as good as everybody thinks? They haven't been tested yet. My question is, I'm just not sold on Michigan State. Yeah, they had a big game last week against Michigan. That's the key. That was a big rivalry game. Are they able to get back up 2 weeks in a row for a team like Wisconsin? I know they're not going to be flat playing an undefeated team, but are they able to sustain that for 4 quarters?
You know, and that's what you got to think about Michigan State. Every year we hear something with them. Every year they make a little bit of a run. They're always a team that's kind of in the mix, but then they hit a spot in the schedule that kind of just wipes them off the national title picture. Already lost a game this year. This is going to be a big test under the lights. Why should we believe in them this season, though? If we're going to bet Michigan State, why should we believe in them?
For me, I'm not going to. I'm going to go with Wisconsin in here, and the reason for it is Michigan State, you know, their defense has played well, but they haven't played an offense anywhere near this. I know Michigan has a good offense, but Michigan is more of a running team. You don't look at Washington as to be a threat throwing the ball. You know, he's going to beat you with his legs. So for Michigan State this week, they got to not only stop a powerful running game, they got to stop, you know, Russell Wilson. I don't think they get it done.
Good defense, too, for Wisconsin. Always good on that side of the ball as well.
This is where we're going to see. I don't think they're going to get tested because this Michigan State offense is not overpowering. So Wisconsin hasn't been tested yet. They handled Nebraska in their only test, but that was at Camp Randall, and we know how well they play there. I think they go out on the road. I think they take care of business. I like that this number is settled in around the 7. I definitely, you know, this is a number that you got to shop. If you like Wisconsin, you got to grab it when you see that 7. If you're a Michigan State player, you're going to wait and try to grab that 7.5 because the public money probably is going to come in on Wisconsin just because they're, you know, the top 10 team, and these top 10 teams this year have just been cashing left and right.
So you got to figure if you like Michigan State, like you said, wait till probably the last moment on game day, let that thing get up from the public.
Yes.
All right, let's go to game number 2. This one's going to be earlier in the day at noon. Number 4, Oklahoma State, 6-0, coming off a big road win at Texas, travels to Missouri to take on the 3-3 Tigers. Line opens Oklahoma State -6.5, totals at 68. No surprise with an Oklahoma State Cowboys offense. It's one of the best and highest scoring in the country. Current line settles in right around 6.5 as well. Is there anything the bettors should fear from a 3-3 Missouri team? Because what we've seen so far this year, Oklahoma State can put up the points. They can play with just about anybody.
That's for sure on Oklahoma State. This Missouri team has gotten better as the season's gone on. They're starting a young quarterback, Joe Franklin, I believe his name is, and he has gotten better in each game. The problem is, for every 3 or 4 good plays he still has that one bonehead play. And unfortunately for me, the one game that they didn't cover the spread in their last 5 is the one game I was on big, and that was against Kansas State, which has just been a team, to me, in the Big 12 that's just been an enigma. They shouldn't be as good as they're playing. But Missouri, they're methodical in their scoring drives. They're not the quick strike offense of Oklahoma State. So what you've got to have is you've got to have a perfect game for Missouri to be able to march down the field, not turn the ball over. And what ended up happening in the Kansas State game, because I watched that game very closely, it wasn't turnovers, it was mistakes, negative yard plays that stopped drives, that killed them. They cannot do that against this Oklahoma State team because their defense is not good enough to hold Oklahoma State to a lot of field goal drives. Oklahoma State's going to go up and down the field. And my fear in this game is it's going to be an exchange of Oklahoma State scoring, Missouri score, maybe not, or settle for a field goal. And then as the game starts to get a little bit of separation, then it's going to make Missouri a one-dimensional team because they're going to be in catch-up mode. If they fall behind by 2 scores, that's when I fear Franklin making the mistakes.
Especially when you can sit back in the nickel and dime because you know the pass is coming. That's one of the biggest weapons for Oklahoma State. Their defense's biggest weapon is their offense. When you look at them, they're 5-1 in their last 6 against the spread. But a lot of people think points with this team. Only 3-2-1 the over is this year. 3-2-1 in the 6 games they've played in 2011. They'll probably hold up their end of the 69 and a half, wherever that line is right now. Can Missouri hold up their end, or do you see this game maybe going under?
Let me put it this way. With these two teams, there's no way I'm betting an under. But I think part of the problem with, as you said, as much as they score, the totals are so inflated on this team because everybody knows that they score. Plus, because Oklahoma State's been a marquee team, they've been on TV almost every week. And one thing to tell your listeners to remember, anytime there's a nationally televised game, the over is always going to be inflated to the over side because Vegas knows that the average bettor is going to walk to the window and bet an over before he bets an under, just because in his mind, his gambler's mentality, he thinks, I'm never out of the game. I still always have a chance. And you get value, and that's why the lowest total they've had on this team this year was 62. And that was the first game of the season.
Where do you think, just off the cuff, where do you think they put the Oklahoma State-Oklahoma total at? 100?
Actually, that game could end up being a more reasonable total. It's still going to be in the 60s, but Oklahoma does play some defense.
They do.
And if everybody runs the table until that game, which, is in November, it's going to be a monster game. It's almost going to be like a playoff game. Remember, the Big 12 does not have a championship game this year because the teams they lost. So that basically could be for the championship. So it might be played a little closer to the vest.
It's like the LSU-Alabama game. That's basically the de facto national championship. That's the same thing for the Big 12. But there it is, everybody. Enjoyed the games today. Marco D'Angelo from pregame.com. Thank you very much for your insight, as always.
No problem.
Always a pleasure. We'll bring you back sometime soon. But for you guys, enjoy the games, and we'll see you next week.